And the stakes for Labour don't stop there. While Starmer's party fights for survival in Runcorn and Helsby, the Prime Minister himself is facing political turbulence on another front. This week, he announced the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War, pledging an extra £13.4 billion a year by 2027. But instead of strengthening his position, Starmer has walked straight into another battle with Reform UK. Critics have pointed out that Starmer's sudden embrace of higher defence spending looks suspiciously similar to Reform's own manifesto promises. The accusation that Starmer is desperately copying Farage to fend off the rising populist movement. When grilled by GB News' Christopher Hope on whether he was turning into Nigel Farage in disguise, Starmer snapped. His response was furious and direct. Nigel Farage is fawning over Putin. That is not patriotism. His aggressive counterattack was meant to shut down the comparison, but it only raised more questions. If Starmer really believes Reform UK is so dangerous, why is he mirroring their policies? Starmer's big spending plan has also raised serious controversy over how he plans to pay for it. The answer? By slashing Britain's foreign aid budget, a move that has enraged humanitarian organisations and sparked fresh backlash within Labour's own ranks. Former military chief Lord Richard Dannett has praised Starmer's defence boost, but warned that it may not be enough. With the threat of Russian aggression growing and concerns over whether a Trump-led America will continue backing European security, the UK may need to invest even more in its military just to keep up. For Starmer, this week should have been a moment of political strength. Instead, he's fighting on two fronts, against Reform UK's relentless assault in Runcorn and Helsby, and against growing criticism that he is merely reacting to Farage's rising influence. As the scandal surrounding Amesbury continues to spiral out of control, Labour's grip on Runcorn and Helsby looks weaker than ever. Reform UK has successfully turned this one-man's disgrace into a nationwide political crisis for Labour, and their insurgent campaign is showing no signs of slowing down. The key question now is whether Labour's seat will hold, or whether Farage's forces will achieve the impossible. If Reform UK can pull off a historic upset in one of Labour's safest constituencies, it will send shockwaves through Westminster and confirm that Labour's red wall is still crumbling. One thing is certain, the battle for Runcorn and Helsby is just beginning, and with Reform UK pouring every ounce of energy into this fight, Labour's nightmare may be far from over. Labour's grip on Runcorn and Helsby is slipping, and Reform UK is tightening the noose. With the scandal surrounding Mike Amesbury's disgraceful assault continuing to dominate headlines, Nigel Farage and his party are pushing harder than ever to force a by-election and humiliate Labour in one of its safest strongholds. The stakes are escalating, and with every passing day, public anger is turning into action. The petition demanding Amesbury's resignation has surpassed 13,000 signatures, with more pouring in by the hour. Reform UK's relentless pressure campaign has turned the streets of Runcorn into a battleground, with their digital billboard van broadcasting a scathing message across the constituency. Labour's fortress in Runcorn and Helsby is under siege, and Nigel Farage's Reform UK is preparing for an all-out assault. The scandal that has sent shockwaves through British politics has ignited a by-election battle unlike any other, with the potential to reshape the country's political landscape. At the heart of the storm is Labour MP Mike Amesbury, now a convicted criminal, whose disgraceful actions have handed Reform UK a golden opportunity to humiliate Starmer's party in one of its safest seats. The scandal erupted when Amesbury, an elected Member of Parliament, did something so unthinkable that it shattered Labour's credibility overnight. He punched a constituent, an act so reckless, so politically self-destructive, that his career is now in tatters. His shocking descent into disgrace has left Labour in panic mode, desperate to contain the fallout while Reform UK seizes the moment. The pressure is mounting, and it is coming from all directions. Reform UK is demanding Amesbury's immediate resignation, with a massive public campaign unfolding right in the heart of his constituency. Images flooding Runcorn and Helsby show a van with giant digital screens blasting out a clear and humiliating message, Amesbury's mugshot in front of a police lineup, holding a placard reading, "Sign the petition." The moving billboard leaves no room for doubt, cycling through brutal statements for everyone to see. Runcorn's Labour MP punched a constituent. He's going to jail. Runcorn needs reform, UK. This is no ordinary scandal. This is a full-scale political reckoning, and Labour knows it. If just 10% of registered voters in Runcorn and Helsby sign an official recall petition, a by-election will be triggered, throwing one of Labour's 16 safest seats in the country into a political firestorm. Reform UK, sensing blood in the water, has already gathered over 13,000 signatures on their own separate petition, proving that public anger is reaching boiling point. Farage's movement is pulling no punches. A statement on Reform UK's campaign page lays out the stakes in brutal terms. The people of Runcorn and Helsby deserve an MP who upholds the highest standards of public service. Amesbury's position is untenable. He must resign immediately. Labour is now faced with an impossible choice: force Amesbury to step down and risk a catastrophic by-election loss, or cling to him and suffer the long-term damage of his scandal dragging the party through the mud. Reform UK is going all in. Every single household in the constituency has already received a letter from Nigel Farage himself, urging them to back reform and send Labour a message they can't ignore. An insider within the party has revealed the level of intensity being planned for the campaign. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's one of Labour's safest seats, but we're going to give it everything. The only question now is who will lead Reform's charge. Two major names are being thrown around, each with the potential to make this by-election an absolute political earthquake. Jason Moorcroft, a local fighter who ran for Reform UK in the area last summer, could be an obvious pick. But in a surprising twist, he told GB News that the party hasn't even approached him yet. Could Reform be looking for someone even bigger, even more controversial? That's where Aaron Banks comes in. The co-founder of Leave EU, an infamous Brexit bad boy, would turn this by-election into a national spectacle overnight. If Banks enters the fray, Labour's safe seat wouldn't just be in play, it would be in grave danger. Meanwhile, Labour is frantically searching for damage control candidates to limit the fallout. Political insiders suggest two possible figures could be called up. Karen Shaw, a local Labour councillor with ties to Jeremy Corbyn's leadership bid, who is seen as a safe but uninspiring choice. Jonathan Ashworth, a former Labour frontbencher who just lost his own seat in Leicester South to a pro-Gaza independent. Labour strategists believe his aggressive political style might help hold the seat, but if he were to lose twice in 1 year, his career would be utterly finished. Reform's aggressive, no-holds-barred approach is already proving effective. Labour is on the defensive, struggling to fight back against the overwhelming public backlash. The sheer outrage over Amesbury's scandal has turned what should have been a routine Labour victory into a potential historic upset. Labour, already in crisis mode, is scrambling to shore up support while desperately trying to contain the damage. But Reform's strategy is relentless, and their next move could completely shatter Labour's defence. Behind the scenes, discussions are intensifying over who Reform UK will choose to lead their charge in the upcoming by-election. Will they go with Jason Moorcroft, the local name with deep ties to the community, or will they drop a political bombshell and field Aaron Banks, the infamous Brexit backer who could turn this election into a national referendum on Labour's failures?